Section 9 of the agenda is motions, and 9.1 is the motion by Councillor Lang on reducing the impact of utility works.
Councillor Lang.
Thank you very much, Convener. So it always unnerves me slightly when I bring a motion that doesn't elicit any amendments or addendums. I'm worried I'm either losing my touch or we're about to get a sudden move of no action. I don't know, but anyway. This is not a new issue for councillors or indeed for this committee. I've brought this motion today because ultimately I think people recognise and understand that utility companies need to repair and they need to upgrade their infrastructure. What they and I find frustrating is when they see roads, footways, paths closed off for weeks, even months, with little or no work actually happening. And to give you one example, in White House Road in my own ward, we've seen Scottish Gas Networks cause quite a bit of chaos for weeks with temporary lights that didn't work properly, lane closures, and even a whole extensive footpath blocked off. And meanwhile, residents have looked on at an often empty site with no work happening. And this is not something that's just in my ward. We see this kind of thing right across the city where companies cause disruption, often misery, with little incentive to complete works quickly. Now, as I've discussed with officers, a number of councils in England have used new legal powers to introduce a daily charge on utility companies which occupy public roads and pavements. And I think the learning and the experience of this has, funnily enough, shown a real difference in terms of motivating companies to get their work done more quickly. I think these are powers that we should have here in Scotland. They've been shown to work elsewhere, and I think the experience here in Edinburgh is, and I think our own officers would strongly support this, is that these kinds of powers could offer a way of helping to minimise disruption, even when these works are essential and need to be carried out. So I'll move my motion. Thank you.
Councillor Dixon-Dining.
Thank you very much, Convener. And my colleague, Councillor Lang, mentions here works that are happening on for months, and I can do him one better because in my ward we have an issue with a bus route just off Cruto being blocked off for almost a year now as a result of issues with a sewer. Now, I appreciate that there is a complex piece of engineering that's at the heart of this, but I do struggle to believe that this was the absolute quickest that this work could have been carried out. In other parts of my ward, since I was elected, some areas have been dug up 3 times by different utilities companies, and in some cases there's been weeks and weeks of equipment and road blockages with no apparent work going on. Again, I think residents very fairly ask us, is there no way that this can be sped up in any way? So, as the motion points out, the Council has very little influence over the scheduling of these kinds of works. So what this motion tries to do is to just reduce the length of time that residents are inconvenienced by these works. I do want to make one final point, though, and that's this. As a Council, we have ambitious plans where it comes to improvements to our infrastructure. We've talked about the junctions review. We talk about improvements to active travel, to footways, to cycleways. We talk about fixing our roads and resurfacing, and all of these things require us to go onto our roads, to cause a certain amount of disruption. So let's try and minimize the time that we collectively take to cause these disruptions to our residents and try to test their patience as little as we can. So I'm very happy to second this motion.
Councillor McFarlane, are you going to move no action on Councillor
I think I'd be public enemy number 1 if I did so, Convener, so no, absolutely not. I just wanted to add to the points that have been made that are all very valid. You just have to take a wee walk through Rose Street and see what happened there. It's appalling. in terms of the quality of reinstatement works, which I know, with the pause of City Fibre is in probably part to do with the contractors that they were using and the quality of reinstatement works that they were doing that was actually becoming reputationally quite damaging to City Fibre themselves. But I wonder if there's also the kind of communications piece. I mean, when things do get fixed, quite often, for example, just take out there Hunter Square, they removed the BT phone boxes and left it in a terrible state. They actually went out and then, so well done officers for managing to get that fixed. They then came out and fixed it. That was BT, I understand, that paid for it. So it's maybe also good to consider alongside these points about how we communicate, because it sometimes looks like we're going in and actually fixing what utility providers have caused, and I know that's not often the case. That's not always the case. So just that kind of piece on reinstatement itself, and I also agree with that kind of coordinated works. And I know there is massive efforts from the officer teams in terms of when we're opening up a road, we'll do the reinstatement. Don't worry at all. We'll sort that. If we're already lifting it, you guys go in, put in your pipes, cabling, ducts, whatever, and we will then do the top. And sometimes that's the best way of doing it. Thanks.
Do you have any? Oh, Councillor Cowdy.
Yeah, I would just like to input to say that I've had a lot of problems in our ward with City Fibre, and a lot of the conversations I've had have been, first of all, why are the council allowing a private company to come and disrupt us like this? So I have had lots of conversations with Mr. Barwell, and I have now learned myself and have been telling them that, well, they are a statutory undertaker. We are obliged, the council is obliged to allow them. It's not a matter of being able to or not. But the second thing is, well, they're there for a week, or the barriers are up for a week and there's nobody there. And we have, I'm guessing, very little influence on how they go about it. But if we could give them a per day charge, then that would at least go some way to focusing their minds on trying to get this job done as quickly as possible. And also I agree with what Councillor McFarlane was saying in terms of reinstatement works and stuff like that. It's, there's a lot of improvement could happen there.
Any other further comments or observations from people? Okay, so I'll just say a few words. So I really do welcome it. I think it's an important issue. I recently had Scottish Gas Networks in my ward at a major crossroads, and they managed to back traffic up onto the bypass at one point, and quite considerable delays to Lothian buses services as well. But it seemed that for quite a lot of the day, there was no one at the works, despite the huge disruption it was causing. And the traffic tailed back into Councillor Munro's ward, actually. Absolutely incredible. And of course, the council takes the heat for this, but in fact, the council has very few powers to deal with it. And what powers they do have, I think I'm right in saying, are out of date. They go back to a time when we had perhaps just one telecoms company, etc., to deal with. And now it's much more of a free market there, where all of them have the right to open the road. And I think the use is subcontracted by these companies, so they have a company that opens the road, one that does the work, and another one that comes back and fills it over, and then yet another that deals with the traffic management. All this delays the work, and with no real incentive for them to complete the work faster, I think it's suboptimal right now. So I'm hopeful that when Councillor Lang's motion falls and reaches the right person, they will react and see that this is actually quite a popular move, and people by and large will support this, people who want to get goods and services moved throughout the city. And I don't overlook the fact that Councillor Lang's motion also covers footpaths as well as roads, just as important, of course, in this domain. So with that, I'm happy to support it, and I guess the rest of us... Oh, does Councillor Lang want the right of reply? Oh, sorry, I was doing the right reply for you, Councillor Lang. So are we happy to support this? Okay, good, thank you. 9.2, Councillor O'Neill.